Tech giant and AI chipmaker NVIDIA just reported their Q2 earnings, and there was something for everyone. They beat expectations, but not by that much or as much as they have done in previous quarters, which led the stock to decline about 8% initially. Now in the pre-market, it's down about 3%. In my opinion, this was something for everyone. The bears would say that the earnings report was good, but the rate of growth is starting to decline. And then the bulls would say that the Blackwell chip, Jensen Huang said in the earnings call that they're going to ship the Blackwell chip in the fourth quarter and should be billions of dollars of revenue already then. So there was something for everyone, in my opinion. Well, first off, earnings per share was higher than estimated, 68 cents for 65. And then revenue came in at 30 billion compared to 28.6 billion. This was a 122% year-over-year increase and 15% increase quarter over quarter, which is pretty significant growth numbers. Data center revenue was $26.3 billion. And then Jensen Huang and NVIDIA are also offering a $50 billion share buyback. One downside also is that the profit margins declined slightly. But in my opinion, this is remarkable growth. Look, it's hard to keep that same rate of growth going forever. But Jensen Huang's optimistic comments about the Blackwell chips, saying that productions and shipments are going to really start in the fourth quarter, and he expects billions of dollars of revenue then, I think is pretty huge. This AI revolution is still starting, in my opinion. He's still seeing tons of demand for these AI chips. NVIDIA is the picks and shovels play for these AI chips. You know, in the gold rush, the picks and shovels companies made the most money, and NVIDIA is the picks and shovels play for AI still, in my opinion. They're the number one game in town. These hyperscalers like Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, Apple are really spending so much money on NVIDIA's chips because they're so much superior than the competitors. So in my opinion, I still think this was a very strong earnings report, which is why NVIDIA right now is only trading down about 3%. It was trading down about 8% at its peak. But when you digest these numbers, yes, they didn't meet the most optimistic whisper numbers. You know, the Q3 outlook, the guidance was 32.5 billion plus or minus 2%. Whisper numbers were a little higher. But look, that guidance is based on Blackwell, those chips not really being able to be shipped until the fourth quarter. So if Blackwell was able to be shipped earlier, I think Q3 guidance would be even higher. Either way, I think this is a decent and a pretty good earnings call. In my opinion, I think this is another stellar quarter for NVIDIA. I also want to talk a little bit about Q2 GDP. It came in at 3% versus 2.8% expected and 1.4% in the last quarter. This shows that economic growth is still very resilient. Excuse me. Look, I mean, a lot of people are saying recession's imminent. I don't think so. We had two recessions, in my opinion, over the last 5 years. We had the COVID recession, which was sudden and sharp and ended very quickly due to the government and the Federal Reserve's response. And then we had the 2022, the first 2 quarters of 2022's recession with negative GDP growth. It's very rare to have more than 2 recessions in 5 years, so I don't expect another one soon. And this Q2 GDP number of 3%, higher than Q1's GDP number of 1.4%, shows the economy is still very strong. Obviously, let's see what happens in Q3. And another optimistic note is that the jobless claims number, this week's jobless claims number came out lower than estimated at 231,000 compared to 232,000. Continuing claims did edge up, that is true. But the fact that this week's jobless claims number came out lower than expected slightly, I think goes to show you that the labor market and the economy is not falling off a cliff. This combined with stronger than expected Q2 GDP and NVIDIA's strong earnings report shows me that the economy and the markets are headed, the economy is still strong and the markets are still headed for some gains in the weeks and months ahead, in my opinion.